listening to Keith Sports News. Hey guys, welcome to Keith Sports News episode 53. And as you can tell, I am in this room this time because I decided to just chill out in this room. Yep. And let me show you something real quick. Oh, what the heck? Ooh, I touched my I'm using a laptop to record these episodes, and the laptop is actually touch screen. So I accidentally touched the top of the screen. I was like, oh, what the heck? I meant to grab the webcam. Yeah, I'm not using the laptop camera because the quality's not great. But I was playing two things. This TV and that big TV. That big TV was from my bedroom. Yes, the one where I watched the UFL championship game. Yeah, I moved it in this room for this weekend. So yeah. Anyways, there's actually not that much to talk about. So that means this episode will be a lot shorter. But I do have some news that I would like to share with you. NBA season is over. The NHL season is over. That was like a big thing last week, the week before. Think about it. Think about that. Their playoffs lasted about 2 months. And those 2 months have flown by, It's crazy. But why were they on at the same time of the year? It's always like that, I know. But they can have the NBA Finals in a month. I mean, that would be better, in my opinion. Have the NBA Finals in a month, right before NFL preseason begins. I don't know why they can't do that. Maybe not. Well, maybe like mid-July. That would be better, because last year we had the Summer Olympics in late July. Okay, and obviously basketball was one of the big Olympic events because a lot of the NBA players are from around the world. Although the next Summer Olympics in 2028 will be in the second half of July. So, I don't know. Although they're going to have baseball. Baseball will be in the next Summer Olympics, but will Major League Baseball players participate in that? I hope so, but I don't think they will. The reason why I say I hope so is because I've always enjoyed the World Baseball Classic. Yeah, every couple of years they have the World Baseball Classic where it's basically like the World Cup of baseball. They had baseball in the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing, but they didn't have it in 2012 in London and 2016 in Rio. It came back in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but that was in 2021. However, unfortunately, there were no fans in the stands because of COVID. And last year's Olympics was in Paris. They didn't have baseball. But in Los Angeles, you got to have that. You got to have that. Because, it's Los Angeles. A bunch of Dodgers fans. Maybe even Angels fans, too, I mean, that's still 3 years from a month or from a couple of weeks. But remember, that might seem a while, But think about this. 3 years ago was 2022. 2022 to me didn't seem like it was that long ago. And next year will be the Winter Olympics in February. The last Winter Olympics was in February of 2022, and I do remember that quite well, and it didn't seem like it was that long ago, so time flies. But the World Baseball Classic will happen next year in March, and I would like to go to a game. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'll say it anyways. I would like to go to a game because Houston is one of the cities that will be hosting games. Yes, Daikin Park, formerly known as Minute Maid Park, even though most Houston Astros fans still call it Minute Maid Park, including myself, because it was known as Minute Maid Park for many years. All right, but Daikin Park has never hosted the World Baseball Classic, which is, to me, that's kind of surprising. That is kind of surprising that they never hosted it before. So I guess they're finally going to host it next year, and I live like 4 hours away from Houston. It'll take like a 4-hour drive there, and I think it'll be great if I really do go to a game. It's in March next year, so I still have plenty of time to plan that. But I would like to go because the World Baseball Classic does not happen every year like the World Cup of soccer. It doesn't happen every year. Next year, we're having the World Cup in soccer. Okay? So, and I really enjoyed the 2023 World Baseball Classic, the last time they had it. Okay? And you know what's weird? 2023 was also the first year where the MLB introduced the new rules, the pitch clock and all that, but they didn't have that. They didn't use that in the World Baseball Classic. So I'm wondering, will they use today's MLB rules in next year's World Baseball Classic? I hope the answer is no, but I think they will. Yeah. It's weird because they didn't use it. They didn't use the 2023 MLB's new rules in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. They used the old school rules. The one that I really like, you know. But I think they will. If they do, that kind of sucks for me, but I think I'll still have a good time. I mean, I would still like to go to a game, but, you know, it's 4 hours. Houston is the closest MLB team for me, and I have been to that ballpark before. I've been to some games there, but the last time I went to a game was 8 years ago, 2017, and obviously the league was different back then. This was back when I was really into it. You know, now not so much because of all this new changes, because this is not the same MLB that I really got into. And I get it. Can't please everybody. It can't be the same forever. I understand that. Hell, I mean, every sports league was kind of different in a way 10 years ago, you know. I was into the NFL 10 years ago as well. But recent years, not much. It is what it is. So, yeah, I would like to go to a game. And Team USA will be playing in Houston, as well as Team Great Britain and Team Mexico. What if I go to a Team USA versus Team Mexico game? That will be crazy. That'll be a huge game. And a lot of Mexicans live in Houston, so there's going to be more Mexican fans in the stands. So, but yeah, Houston is one of the cities that will be hosting it. So it'll be great if I really do go to one. And if I really do, I'll let you know. And see, if I go to a game, I really hope the game isn't short, especially if they're using today's MLB rules, mainly the pitch clock, because the reality is the pitch clock makes the games shorter, faster. And I understand people like it like that, but like if I go to a game and it's only there's been some pretty short games. If it's low scoring, usually a low scoring game is a shorter game. If it's a higher scoring game, it's a longer game. If it's a super high scoring game, it's a long game. That's how it is, you know? If I go to a game, I hope it's high scoring because that makes the game longer. I want to get my money's worth. And by the way, just because the games are shorter doesn't mean that the seats are cheaper. Nope, the seats are still expensive. So that sucks. That's why I don't like these new rules that much. It's just, why are we speeding up the game? The pitch clock is too fast, in my opinion. Like, what the heck? Hey, and yeah, the worst rule, in my opinion, is that extra inning rule. They call it the ghost runner rule, where a runner starts at second base, which is stupid. That is my most hated sports rule, I think. I think I hate that rule more than the NFL's overtime rules, where the first team score wins. First team score a touchdown in overtime, they win, and the other team does not get the ball. But I heard the NFL changed that rule in their playoffs, which is about time. I don't know why they didn't. Why didn't they do that in 2017 after the Super Bowl 51 overtime game? Why didn't they thought of that? You know, it's like, what the heck? So, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I barely watched MLB games. I gotta be honest with you guys. I used to be a big fan of the MLB pretty much until all these rule changes from 2 years ago, and ever since, I haven't been watching games much. Just not really interested. However, I still want to know what's going on in the league, and that's why, I listen to a lot of these sports talk podcasts, and that's where I get my news from, okay? I'm not a big fan of today's WWE, but I listen to a podcast that talks about today's WWE, and I am interested in listening so that I know what's going on. And, what if there's maybe I'll hear some crazy news where I can maybe get back into it a little bit. Same with the MLB. Who knows? Maybe I'll get back into the NFL full time again. I don't know. That's kind of why these sports podcasts that I like listening to, they're interesting. Yeah. And I'll have to, in a future episode, I'll have to tell you all of my favorite sports talk podcasts. I made a list. I wrote them down. It's a lot. So, but if you guys like me talking, whatever comes to my mind of sports, and that's great. So, yeah. So the big thing, I know, yeah, now that the NBA season's over, the NHL season's over, we do have the NBA draft. I barely watch that. However, everyone knew that Cooper Flagg was going to get the number one pick, right, from Duke Blue Devils. He's now part of the Dallas Mavericks, so congrats to him on that. And it's weird. I think the NHL draft is tonight Like, what the heck? What is with the NBA and NHL doing the same thing during the same time of the year? I mean, they're not on at the exact same time, the same nights, but what the heck? I find that weird. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final were on at the same time of the year. They weren't on at the same night, but they were during the same time of the year. Like, why are they doing this? I don't understand that. It's weird watching hockey in June, and I don't know. But it's also weird having NFL playoffs in January where it's freezing cold. A lot of outdoor games. My favorite, however, I know I said that I am not a big MLB fan, but I still get into the postseason in October. The MLB playoffs is my favorite. Out of all the major sports, it's my favorite. It is. I get into that. I do. MLB postseason in October is my favorite playoff sports. It is. Even though I'm not a big fan of today's MLB, but I still get into the playoffs. I still get into it. However, not a fan of Fox. Not a fan of the MLB on Fox anymore. I used to be until after Joe Buck left in 2021. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same ever since he left. And especially after when they changed that score bug. That score bug just looks ugly to me. And I know we've seen this score bug since October of 2021, so we're kind of used to it by now. And I hope that they'll change it this October, and hopefully it won't look similar to their current one, and hopefully it won't look like the current NFL on Fox score bug. That NFL on Fox score bug, the new one, I think that one's worse than the MLB on Fox score bug, mainly because we're used to the MLB on Fox score bug by now. So, but man, like go back like 10, 15 years ago. The Fox score bug was great. The graphics, they use the same graphics for all the Fox sports. Now it seems like they're using their own graphics and score bugs for their own sports, which is kind of weird. Like why is the UFL still using Fox's 2020 to 2023 score bug? Isn't that weird? I like that score bug, but it's kind of weird that they're still using that. I don't know. It's just so weird. However, MLB on TBS, they've had the same score bug since like 2018. I don't know why they won't change theirs. I'm not a fan of their score bug as well, but I prefer TBS than Fox. I do like TBS's coverage of the postseason more than Fox's coverage. So, my problem with TBS is that their score bug looks too small. I wish they can make it bigger. And the MLB on Fox score bug is ugly. It's ugly looking. But I prefer TBS than Fox because TBS has some well-known announcers on there. So, yeah. But I have SiriusXM, and I can listen to like the team announcers, their radio coverage of the postseason. Yeah, I won't be able to watch the game, but at least I can hear it. That's better than nothing. That's what I did with the Houston Astros, because they're the closest team to where I live, and I prefer listening to their radio broadcast when they're in the postseason than watching it on TV. Last year's World Series, I listened to John Sterling, longtime Yankee radio play-by-play announcer. John Sterling called it a career after last year's World Series. And that's what I did. I listened to all 5 games on SiriusXM from John Sterling because this was it. This is it. After the World Series, he's done. He's retired. So that's what I did. I really like John Sterling. Yeah. And he was like 86 when he retired. Now he's almost 87. His birthday's on the 4th of July. So, but the guy who replaced him, he's also a well-known announcer, Dave Sims, who used to be the Seattle Mariners TV play-by-play announcer. I've always liked him, so I might listen to him when the Yankees are in the postseason again. I might listen to Dave Sims. And by the way, it's hard to believe how old he is. Same with John Sterling. They have great voises. And I know the voice on Fox is Joe Davis. I'm not a fan of Joe Davis, to be honest with you. His voice sounds kind of weird to me. That's kind of the main reason why I'm not a fan of Joe Davis. He's a great announcer, but his voice sounds a little weird to me. But hey, you can say the same thing with other announcers. You know, remember Chris Berman from ESPN? He had a weird voice, but everyone likes him. You know, maybe I can do another episode of telling you guys my favorite announcers for TV, radio, for sports. I might do that as well. But I named a few. Dave Sims, I've always liked him. John Sterling, I've always liked him. Joe Buck, I've always liked him. You know, Joe Davis, not so much. Okay. Kenny Albert. Some people, I can kind of see Kenny Albert's voice sounding kind of weird because it sounds like he has like a mouthful of marbles. But I've always liked Kenny Albert. But there's probably some that don't like Kenny Albert's voice. It is what it is. You know who I really like? He's not my favorite, but I do like him. Matt Vasgersian. Why isn't Matt Vasgersian back on Fox? Like, years ago, before he became the voice of Sunday Night Baseball in 2018, he was one of the voices on Fox Sports for Major League Baseball, and his partner was John Smoltz. John Smoltz, he's with Joe Davis. So I thought after Matt Vasgersian left ESPN in 2021, I thought in 2022 he can go back to Fox and reunite with John Smoltz, but that did not happen. I would love to see that happening. No disrespect to Joe Davis, I like Matt Vasgersian more, you know. By the way, Matt Vasgersian, I believe he was the voice of MLB The Show, the video game, for many years. But I don't think he is anymore. I think the current announcer is Boog Shambi, John Shambi, who is the voice of the Chicago Cubs on TV, and he's the voice of ESPN Radio. I've always liked him too. Yeah, and he was the Sunday Night Baseball announcer last Sunday night because Carl Ravitch, the main voice of Sunday Night Baseball, he was calling the College World Series on that afternoon, that Sunday afternoon. So, by the way, it's going to be sad when the MLB leaves ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, because I've always liked the ESPN announcers. I wish ABC can host a World Series. But unfortunately, that'll never happen because there's always a World Series game on a Saturday night, and that Saturday night is college football night. You know, ABC is huge into college football, especially now with the SEC having the rights. ABC is having the rights to the SEC, which I do like. I do like the SEC on ABC. You got three great announcers: Chris Fowler, Sean McDonough, Joe Tessitore. They're all great. So, but man, it's gonna be sad when ESPN will no longer broadcast MLB games. I don't think I know what network will be hosting it next year. We'll see. It might be Amazon Prime. It could be Netflix. Maybe Peacock. If it's Peacock, I have no problem with that because I already have that. I don't know. And ESPN, they always broadcasted the Home Run Derby. By the way, the Home Run Derby is coming up. And I used to be, you know what, I mentioned before, 10 years ago, I was a big fan of the MLB, right? Well, 10 years ago and more, I liked the old Home Run Derby format where there was no time clock. You get a number of outs. I liked the Home Run Derby like that. And every year I watched an old Home Run Derby. For two reasons. Number one, because of the old rules. And number two, Chris Berman was the announcer. There's a chance that I might do a live stream of me watching the Home Run Derby just for the fun of it. I might. We'll see. Although I was going to live stream me watching Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but unfortunately my upload speed was low. So I waited and waited and waited for it to go high enough, but it got too late. So hopefully, if I really do it, that whenever the next live stream is, hopefully I won't let you guys down. Hopefully the upload speed won't be very low. All right. Okay, this is kind of a weird episode. 27 and a half minutes, and I barely talked about any of today's news or this week's news. So, yes, all I know is, yes, right now, NBA draft, that has ended. NHL draft starts. By the way, the only draft I really watch is the NFL. NFL draft is number one. For me, it is. And I don't even watch all 3 days. I really only watch night one, Thursday night. That's it. I don't care about the MLB draft. I don't care about the NBA draft. I don't care about the NHL draft. They had a CFL draft, but I wasn't able to watch it. I forgot about it. So right now you got the MLB season. It's about halfway over. The season started 3 months ago. I believe it's this day. This date marks 3 months since their season started, and we got about 3 more to go, 3 more months to go. And people say that the Home Run Derby and All-Star game, the All-Star break is the halfway point of the season. It's technically not exactly the halfway point. It's actually not. It's a little more than halfway over. By the time we get to the All-Star break, the regular season is already more than halfway over. So, think about that. Look at the calendar, look at the schedule. You'll understand. But people don't think like that, you know? So, oh, by the way, for those of you that have watched the All-Star game for the past couple of years, unlike me, the players were wearing ugly uniforms. And that is the main reason why I refused to watch the All-Star game for Major League Baseball, because of the ugly-ass uniforms. I got sick of that crap. So I decided not to watch. But I listened to it on radio, ESPN radio, with Boog Shambi. John Boog Shambi. So, but I heard that this year they're finally not going to. They're going to stop doing that crap, having the players wearing ugly uniforms. They're going to wear their regular uniforms. I hope that's true. Let's see. We're going to find out if they're telling the truth or not. Anyways, um, so right now, yeah, MLB season's about halfway over. CFL season, you guys know I'm a huge fan of that. That season, it's only like a couple of weeks in. We had a Thursday night game, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch most of it. I only watched like the last 10 minutes of the game. I had stuff to do, and it took a lot longer for me to come back and watch the game. And I didn't want to watch the late night replay because late at night I would record these episodes. And the game was the Edmonton Elks against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I expected the Blue Bombers to win because they're at home and Edmonton's not really a good team, and that's what happened. Although it wasn't a blowout, but Winnipeg did win. That announcer, Dustin Nielsen, is a great announcer. I like him. He is great. He's funny, man. Whenever he calls an exciting play, touchdown play, he puts a smile on my face. When someone puts a smile on your face, that means you like that person. And I like Dustin Nielsen. He's a great announcer. Oh man. And I like Rod Smith too. Rod Smith. He's the main voice of the CFL. He's got that voice. When Rod Smith decides to retire, Dustin Nielsen should replace him. He should succeed Rod Smith whenever Rod Smith decides, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to retire. Then Dustin Nielsen should take over. They're the two best. They are the two best. There's not that many announcers in the CFL because there's only 9 teams, only 4 games. Okay? So some announcers, they'll call 2 games. Glenn Suter. Man, he is like the John Madden of the CFL. He calls so many games. So, I mean, I can't really compare anyone to John Madden, but you know what I mean. A lot of times, Glenn Suter, the analyst, he'll call 2 games. I assume the next game he'll call probably going to be the Saturday night game. And I assume the Friday night football game, Rod Smith will be the play-by-play announcer. That's my prediction. Sometimes I like to predict, which announcers are going to call what game, you know? All right, well, let's stay with the CFL for a bit. Because I'm going to make my predictions for the rest of the games. Actually, I have my phone, so I don't have to look it up on the Google. Let's see. So, my favorite team is the Montreal Alouettes, and they are playing tonight, and I will watch that game tonight. Friday Night Football. They're playing, this is weird, they're playing another road game. 3 straight road games? That's weird. They're playing at the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the Tiger Cats did not play last week, so this will be interesting. This might be a close game. We'll see what happens. The Tiger Cats, they almost beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They got Bo Levi Mitchell, right, the quarterback. They might have a chance to win this game. But I'm picking my favorite team. I think my favorite team can win again, but I think this will be a close game. it's a hard prediction. That's why I say I think this is going to be a close game. It's at Tim Hortons Field. Okay. Okay, so Saturday, no doubleheader. We have a Saturday night game and the Sunday night game. Saturday night game will be the BC Lions against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I won't be available to watch that game, but I might I might watch it late at night if I have time, but I won't be able to watch that live. I have my own plans that night. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, they are a pretty good team, and I think they're going to win again. And then the Sunday night game, Toronto Argonauts against the Ottawa Redblacks. I should be available to watch that game, I think. I don't know. This will be interesting. The Argonauts, the defending Grey Cup champions, are 0-3. And the Ottawa Redblacks, the team that upset the Calgary Stampeders on the road last week, I think the Argonauts will finally get their first win. And that is my predictions for the rest of Week 4 of the Canadian Football League. All right. Let's see here. Let me look at any breaking news here. We do have some breaking news in the MLB. Rays Wander Franco's 2-year prison sentence suspended after he was found guilty of sexual abuse of a minor in the DR. I believe that's Dominican Republic, because I looked him up. He is from the Dominican Republic. Dang, that's crazy, man. There's like certain athletes that just they did this wild stuff. Some more breaking news, but this is more of a fun breaking news. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, elected to All-Star game as top vote getters, as they should be. The two players that faced each other in last year's World Series. We might get a World Series rematch. I mean, it's too early to say. It's hard to predict the World Series. I believe I did predict the World Series Philadelphia Phillies against the Boston Red Sox. It's not really looking so well right now. Do I want that? Do I want that to be the World Series? No, I don't. The Boston Red Sox are like my second least favorite team. If that's the World Series, then I'm going to cheer for the Phillies. Okay? I do like Bryce Harper. I would like to see him get a World Series ring. So yeah, the Boston Red Sox are my second least favorite team. But what about my number one least favorite team? That is the Atlanta Braves. And I think I've mentioned this before. The reason why the Atlanta Braves are my least favorite team is because I used to be a Washington Nationals fan over 10 years ago, before I became a Houston Astros fan. Because back then, for whatever reason, we had cable and we could not get the Houston Astros games because they were blacked out, even though I live 4 hours away from the city. It's so stupid. So I decided, all right, I'm just going to pick a team to follow, and I picked the Washington Nationals. And, excuse me, I need a drink. Coca-Cola, 0. Share a Coke Zero with a bro like me. So, used to be a Washington Nationals fan. And I remember Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper used to be on the Nationals team. And the Atlanta Braves were their rivals. Okay? So, enough said, right? Well, I dislike the Braves more than I did back then. And then when we finally got access to the Houston Astros games, that's when I kind of permanently switched to the Houston Astros. And that was in 2019 because Bryce Harper left the Nationals to go to the Philadelphia Phillies in 2019. And you know it's weird, 2019, the World Series in 2019 was the Washington Nationals against the Houston Astros, where all 7 games were won by the visiting team. Isn't that strange? Very bizarre. Yeah. My favorite team against my former favorite team. And then 2 years later, in 2021, the Houston Astros, they faced the Atlanta Braves. And I thought for sure, I was confident that the Houston Astros would win that World Series, and they didn't. When they had those 3 games in Atlanta, the weather sucked, especially game 3. It was like raining and chilly. Like, how are the Atlanta Braves? Why the Atlanta Braves? They don't have a roof in their stadium. Think about that. They should have a roof on their stadium. The football team has a roof, not the baseball team. I mean, it's summertime. It gets really hot there, and it rains a lot there. They should have a roof. They should have a roof, so you don't have to deal with any of this crap. This suffering. And after the 2021 World Series, after the Atlanta Braves won the 2021 World Series, I was like, I really don't like this team. And I don't like them ever since. I hope this team doesn't win a World Series for a long time. That's how much I don't like this team. So, if you're probably wondering, what if the World Series is the Atlanta Braves against the Boston Red Sox, my 2 least favorite teams? Well, I'm going to cheer for the Boston Red Sox. I hope that's not the World Series, but if it's somehow this year or next year, I'm going to have to cheer for the Boston Red Sox. And plus, they have Alex Bregman, the former third baseman for the Houston Astros. Yeah. But this year, I don't mind seeing a World Series rematch. I know people don't like rematches. I don't mind seeing a rematch. If it could be Mets and Yankees, New York, New York. Subway Series. That's happened one time in the World Series. It was back in 2000. Okay? I don't mind seeing that if it's both New York teams. So, we'll see. But anyways, let's see here. Any more breaking news? There is one breaking news, but want to see if there's any more before I get to that breaking news from the National Football League. Okay, no. But I saw the breaking news on the TV about, in the NFL, former Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, the greatest NFL kicker of all time. It says that former Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker suspended for 10 games. That's 10 weeks. 10-game week regular season. That's like 2.5 months. And is he on a team or is he a free agent? He's 35. He's a free agent. But it says that he played 13 seasons with the Ravens. So that's unfortunate. He's no longer on the team, but what a breaking news this was. Sexual misconduct allegations. Man. You just never know. Okay, it says on June 26, 2025, the NFL announced that Tucker would be suspended for the first 10 weeks of the 2025 season. Tucker declined to appeal the NFL's decision, which would have led to the release of the disciplinary officer's findings, with his agent saying that Tucker hoped to put this difficult episode behind him and get back on the field as soon as possible, while still standing by his previous statements declaring his innocence. Man. I just don't know what to say about that. Like a couple weeks ago, I broke the news that Antonio Brown, former wide receiver, wait, is he a wide receiver or running back? I'm pretty sure he's a wide receiver, or he was a former wide receiver. I want to make sure I'm right. Yep, he's a former wide receiver. Um, he was like he's wanted by the police. Um, you just never know you just never know, man. You got these great players. Their personal life is something else. But most of them, they stay out of trouble. So, like, remember Shohei Otani's former interpreter, the translator guy? Like, what the heck was that? I mean, that was some wild news, man. What the heck? Who knows? We're going to get some more wild news throughout this year. Who knows what's next? So, anyways, right now, got MLB season, CFL season. If you're a golf fan, which I'm not, but I think you're going to have like the British Open or the Open Championships. I think that's coming up. But I do know what's coming up next week. The biggest tennis tournament of the year. Wimbledon, the All England Club. The Wimbledon Championships begin on Monday morning. So, I should be able to watch quite a bit of that. Mainly the second half of that tournament, which is the second week. So it begins on Monday, the last Monday of June, the Wimbledon Championship. So I will talk about that in the next couple episodes of KSN of the Wimbledon Championships, because that's huge. That is a huge event, okay? We might get rematches in the final from the French Open. I can see that. I can see that happening. I'll be surprised if the men's final and the men's singles final and the women's singles final, we don't get any of those players. I'll be surprised if we don't see Carlos Alcaraz or Yannick Sinner in the men's singles final. Like, what if both of them aren't in it? That'll be surprising, because they're the two best players right now, and they're clearly the two favorites. Carlos Alcaraz, he won the last two Wimbledons, beating Novak Djokovic. Maybe it'll be Yannick Sinner's time. He's never won a Wimbledon. I thought he would win the French Open. He should have won the French Open. He was up 3 championship points in the 4th set. How do you choke on that? I mean, it's easy for me to say because I'm not an athlete. I never was an athlete, and most likely I plan on never becoming an athlete, because that is a crazy life. We'll see. We'll see. Well, I guess I lied, guys, that this episode was not short after all, but turns out it's another 50 minutes. I got into my talking, and I hope y'all enjoyed that. So, all right. Well, that is pretty much it. Oh, wait, no, we got some comments. I forgot. We do have some comments from the last episode of KSN, and it's not just from Five Tayer. For once, I got other comments from other people. So, Five Tayer said from the previous episode, with both the NBA and NHL seasons being over, for me, I'm going to primarily be watching the MLB, as it has quickly become my favorite sports league. But I will also try to watch some CFL games, including this upcoming Thursday. So it was the previous night, because he's a Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan, and the Blue Bombers were playing on that Thursday. And of course, the occasional soccer and NASCAR as well. That's cool. Okay, yeah, I'll hear some soccer news and NASCAR news on the Canadian Sports Center on TSN. We got two other comments from two usernames that I've never heard before. We got one named at Brut YouTuber. It says, "Keep making vids, bruv." Thank you. I'm glad you found my channel. I'm glad you enjoyed me talking about sports. And this last one we got from Will Young 859. He says, "Hadn't heard about this. Thanks for the news, Keith. You also have a great radio voice."
I have a great radio voice? Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. 3 comments. That's awesome. Maybe I should do my own play-by-play for whatever sport comes to my mind. I don't know. You know what? Maybe if I do that, then it'll probably be during a live stream because that'll be more fun. Whatever the next live stream is of me watching sports, I can do my own play-by-play. You know. By the way, I've gained some subscribers. I'm close to 50 subscribers. That's awesome. Maybe when I hit 50, I can do a special live stream or something. I don't know. But I was mentioning in the previous episode, I apologize for not recording myself watching or live streaming myself watching Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But I said I can make it up to you guys by maybe I can do, Saturday is always a big day and evening for sports. Maybe I can do a live stream on Saturday afternoon or evening of me watching different sporting events at the same time. And that's what I did. Last Saturday, I didn't do a live stream last Saturday, but for fun, I had 3 sporting events on at the same time. Okay? 2 baseball games. College World Series, the Fox Saturday Night Baseball Game of the Week or whatever you call that, even though, I'm not really a big fan of Fox, but it was the New York Mets against the Philadelphia Phillies. That's a huge game, so I decided to throw that on, put that on, and the CFL game. I was mainly watching the CFL game because, like I said, that is my number 1 favorite sports league. But I had them all 3. I had all 3 on at the same time. They all came on at 6 p.m. Central. So that helps, But maybe I can do that. Maybe on a Saturday evening, I can do that. But I can't do tomorrow night. I have my own plans. Maybe the next Saturday, if I don't have plans, and depending on what's going on, I have to look at the schedules, the sports schedules. All right, what's going on Saturday night? So we'll see. We'll see. But I'll tell you what. October is a big month for the 4 major sports. Okay? You got NFL season. NBA starts their season in October, as well as the NHL. And October, the most importantly, the MLB Postseason. October, the only month where you have all 4 sports major leagues happening at the same time of the year. Yeah. Because when the NFL season's over, no MLB season. All you had is you just have NBA and NHL, right? And when the NBA and NHL seasons come to an end, you just have MLB season, if you don't count the CFL, okay? And then by the time the NFL season starts, that's when the MLB season gets closer to their postseason. So you get the picture. So anyways, that's it. Sorry if I lied. Sorry that I lied that this was not a short episode, but I got into my talking. But I'm sure you guys didn't mind that. So, enjoy your sports weekend, and I should be back on Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Keith Sports News.